I had a female 17. Think my stepdad Ivan, male 46, might have a thing for mine. I have no problem with my mother remarrying my stepfather Ivan about 2 to 3 years ago. I have never had any problems with this because he was really nice and cool. It was always very clear to me that he was always there to support me. No matter what, in any situation, I can always count on him for help no matter what the problem is. My mom was very happy with him because he was a very loving and caring person. The way he treated her was like a kind husband who was always there for her when she needed him. The other day, I was looking for headphones because mine had broken and I needed to replace them, knowing that my mother usually keeps the one in her nightstand. I went to see if I could find them there. I did not find any in here. So I said, fuck it, and check Evan's nightstand too. I did not find any headphones. But what I did find was a pair of what were definitely my bra and pictures of me. Now, if it is just pictures of me, I wouldn't think anything of it, as I have always been treated like his daughter. He has never made any sexual advances towards me in any way or anything like that. So I'm wondering if I'm just overanalyzing something that may have a reasonable explanation. However, this bra, as if that wouldn't have been enough horrifying on its own, really freaked me out. So I put everything back where I found it and left their room. I've been hyper aware of how he behaves around me since that day when he touches me or hugs me. I feel a sense of panic wash over me when I think back to the times he has done this in the past. I'm left wondering if he was just trying to feel me up or something. He never made any kind of sexual advances towards me in any way or anything like this. That's so it is possible that I'm just overthinking something that might have a reasonable explanation. I'm just going into worst-case scenario thinking and imagining him secretly having something for me and touching himself off my underwear or something. Grass like that. I was pretty torn about whether or not to tell my mother about this. She had never believed me about anything before, but for something that big, I was nervous. The act that it was something I made up kind of shook my confidence about whether she would believe me. So I ended up asking her to go for a walk with me. This is something we do send me often nowadays. So it wasn't that weird, and I wouldn't have alerted Ivan. Almost never did I tell her in the end. But after she saw that something was wrong and asked me to tell her, she became very quiet for a while, and then she started crying. She was looking terrified. I was sure that she was aware about Ivan's activity. However, she said that she hoped there would be a reasonable answer to this. But until she spoke to him and we were able to figure everything out, I should stay at Aunt just in case. So I went to my aunt's house last night and we told Ivan and my mom. I was staying at a friend's house when I was at school today. My mom sent me a text telling me that I should come home after school to talk about it with her. As soon as what happened. She did not tell me much about it. I think she kicked him out of the house, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be coming back. Whether or not they will get a divorce is something I don't know for sure. It seems that things weren't going as well as I had thought they were. There was nothing he could say when he was confronted him. But she clearly panicked when she confronted him. She ended up forcing him to confess, as she threatened to call the police, and he admitted he was attracted to me. Finally, he confessed in front of my mother. In another instance, she told me the other day how adorable it was that he hugged me and treated me like his own, which is very unsettling for her, as she now feels sick about it. I'm not sure if we're going to get the police involved or whether they would even do anything, since I'm 17 anyways. And he did not actually do anything to me as well as that. I'm not sure if I would want to deal with all the hassle that goes along with it. It is almost as if I just want to move on with my life and help my mother. Even though I don't believe that she blames me, I cannot help but feel as though I have ruined her marriage. The fact that my mom kicked Ivan out was actually a good thing. We hung out a lot and she took some time off work partly to spend time with me. And I think partly because of what had happened. We actually had a good time after she kicked Ivan out as far as I can remember. We never really talked about it in particular since I could sense that she wasn't ready to talk about it more yet. And I was comfortable with the fact that neither of us was ready to do so either. As the week went on, though, I noticed she seemed to be getting worse. She was talking less and wasn't eating as much as. And I even heard her crying one night. I really did not know what to do. So I just did not mention it to her. Then maybe a week after she kicked him out, I came home from school and found Ivan back in the house. I freaked out about this and went to talk to my mom, but she just stayed silent and avoided eye contact with me. My own that she missed him a lot and decided to ask him to come back. This was 5 days ago. Since then, my mom's been, although she seems to be noticeably happier and more like her usual self, she refuses to talk about what happened to Ivan and punish him for it in any way. I feel like he is more bold now that he's been welcomed back because he knows he'll be able to get away with it since he knows he'll be safe. I have noticed that he has started lingering near my bathroom whenever I have a shower, hugging me from behind, and has even started just walking into my room unannounced whenever he touches me. He definitely lingers. There's been a lot of anxiety in my apart and I've cried myself to sleep most nights because I feel completely unsafe in my own home. I have tried staying at my aunt's or at a friend's house a few times, but they've been busy, and since I have not informed them of what's going on, I couldn't make them take me in. In this case, maybe I should tell my friends so that they might be able to let me stay with them for a while. But from how my mom reacted, I am fucking terrified to tell anyone else as they might just brush it off. I don't know what to do. It's obvious that I can't trust my mom now and I don't know who to turn to. As I mentioned earlier, I've spoken to my aunt and she now knows everything. And even though she's going away for work for the next week, she's given me the keys to her place and is allowing me to stay there for the time being. We have both agreed that we won't tell my mom or Ivan where I am, as I'm afraid that he might come over if he knew I was in the house. If he knew I was there, it would be good if I could also get logs for my house in case I needed to go back to it. And I have requested a meeting with the school counselor so that we could discuss everything in more detail. Initially, I was only going to move in with my aunt as part of a temporary arrangement, but now it has become a permanent arrangement. One day while Steve was at work, she took me to my house so that I could collect my items. Eventually, I told my mom and by extension, Steve, where I was staying. It was more about peace of mind than anything else because I didn't want her to think that I was homeless or anything like that. That kind of stopped her from visiting me and asking where I was. My aunt made it clear to me how disgusting my mom's behavior was and how ready she was to protect me if she needed to. In fact, most of the time I have the place to myself since she's clearly isn't. So I have the privilege of having it to myself most of the time. However, Ivan is aware of this too and he has come over to speak to me a few times when I was alone, but I locked the door and threatened to call the police if he tried to come over since then. He hasn't bothered me anymore. I told my friends about what happened after taking into account. I had to, at some point, as they were eventually going to realize I was living with my aunt and I wanted them to be able to come over too. Sadly, this is where things got more fucked up. Once my friends knew that what had happened, some of them came forward to me and it turns out a few of them had had run-ins with Ivan another day. My friend Lucy actually got messages from him on Facebook telling her how pretty she'd looked the last time she'd come over, complimenting her new pictures and making it clear that she had turned him on, even offering to show proof. The worst was with my best friend Lucy. She did not go into too much detail about it, but I could tell it was hard for her to talk about nearly a year ago. Probably the last time she had stayed over at my house, She had run into him even getting some water at night. He had said something about how a girl her age should not be wearing such a willing pajamas, blocking her from leaving the kitchen, and just kind of kept telling her how good she looked at that. She must be wanting for people to notice she was pretty uncomfortable about and tried getting past him, and he took the opportunity to be all over her in the end. I think I can take it any further than to say that I was feeling disgusted both at Devan and also myself. I can't help but think that if I would notice something earlier, I might have been able to save my friends from this. There was probably a part of me that was trying to rationalize his behavior. So that's why I did not make a report. At first, I thought maybe it would be fine since I'm now a teenager. But knowing that he has been acting this way for long as I can remember, with my friends going back even further, is just disgusting. Having been stupid before, now that I've realized how horrible he really is, I realize what a terrible person he is. Since then, I have spent a lot of time with Lucy and trying to make sure that she stayed. Well, it wasn't until she discussed what happened with us that I think it really sank in for what had happened after that. We all agreed that we would make reports to the police after that, which we have done. Now, the moment I am in, I'm just waiting to see what happens and praying that he gets arrested. I would love nothing more than to have Mom back in my life again. But I'm not ready to act like that quiet yet. How can I support my friend in dealing with what happened to her in the event that Ivan gets arrested? What should I do in order to prepare myself and my friends for the unexpected event? It has taken me a while to realize that I'm comfortable now, but I have had enough time. It's critical to realize that I don't know anything about law, so you might find some errors in my terminology. But a friend, I get to the stuff you actually care about. About 5 months ago, my aunt traveled on one of her work trips in a brief conversation with Mom. I was stupid and let it slip that she wasn't around. It seems that she mentioned this to Ivan because at around 10 p.m. the same night, he showed up at my aunt's house to meet her. As soon as I realized that it was him on the other side of the door, I refused to open it, but he wouldn't leave. He was speaking to me through the front door, begging that we sit down, have a drink and just talk about this. There was no way in hell I was about to let him into my house when I was by myself. So after almost 2 hours of telling him to fuck off, I ended up phoning the police. I told them my stepfather was at my house and refusing to leave, insisting me to be let inside, that I was concerned for my safety. I also reminded them of the reports my friends and I had made previously. They came in, escorted him away, but he was quite agitated and I would mention that I was worried he'd heard me. So they searched him. It was pretty easy to assume he had planned to review for me. I also asked them to look at the messages he had sent to my friends on his phone, which is when they found an album of pictures of me. Those were pictures I had taken from my boyfriend when I was younger off my phone. He was arrested for possession of unwanted material. At this point, I went fully no contact with my mom other than he sending me updates on what was happening. He had his trial like a month ago and pled guilty to possession of unwanted material. He was charged with that and a few other things that I can't remember the terms for. But the important thing is he's been sentenced to 8 years in prison. My aunt been amazing this whole time through money. Now, she doesn't need a legal guardian. But I would like if she became mine. I have not spoken to my mom since she told me he had been sent to jail. I get Dracula text from her. It's obvious she wants to repair our relationship and knows she's in